Hello all, would like to share my CKS exam experience and what topics to focus and some of the tips. So yeah, this recently I cleared that and I have a credly badge also issued. As we know, it's a total 100 marks, right? And 2 hours. One thing is I noticed is out of 2 hours there is no countdown timer, but there is a red color progress bar I have seen on the left side. So that progress bar is basically decreasing that orange color. So I have asked her 2-3 times how much time is remaining to my proctor. So he told me the time. So yeah, that is one of the be cautious, because if we right, and total 16 questions I received, as usually 15 to 20 as per the official documentation. In this 15 to 20 questions, that's what they said, but I received a 16. Next, yes, 1.23 I have seen, but 1.23.4 or something, I'm not sure. I have not correctly checked, but 1.23 was there. So right, that's a one. And other one is results are out in 24 hours. So I given an around 6 o'clock in the evening, and then next day evening 6 o'clock it's out. So CKA it took me around 3 days or something, but CKS is just 24 hours. So they improved a lot on the process point of view. Yeah, and in the CKA we need to do the kubectl, alias, bash auto completion, tmux, curl. All these things not required, this already installed. So if I scroll, this is a publicly accessible URL, by the way. If I scroll down here, right, so this here already clearly mentioned, and whenever as soon as the exam is open, you can just get notes, get pod, get po. So this command will work. Yeah, and yes, total 16 clusters. Yes, you heard correct. In the CKA there was 8 clusters, but CKS 16 clusters. So here if you scroll a little bit up here, right, yeah, see, 16 clusters. So that means I received 16 questions, means total 16 clusters, one question from one cluster. So yeah, and context switching, yes, as usual in the same like a CKA, there is some context switch option is there. But good thing is, whenever as soon as you click on that context switch link, automatically it will copy. You need not to right click and all these things. Just click on it, it will copy. That's a good thing, right? After passing the CKS, it's just my view. Maybe others may feel different. What I feel, these points, timing is a very key point. It's a 2 hours exam, 16 questions. It's basically too much. So need to focus on the timely and as quick as possible. Yeah, so what I seen is basically CKS is more areas to focus. In the CKA, the different, it's totally with the Kube API resources, but here CKS is covering more areas and deeper evaluation. Second is yes, it's a security specialty exam. So there are security tools, right? Security tools basically out of this particular syllabus. So those tools also are one of the important, what I see, and more hands-on and on the topics is required. That's what I feel. So whatever the syllabus is given, it is purely questions are from the syllabus. So in each syllabus there are several number of topics. So those to be practiced compulsory. And other one is in the CKS we will be modifying a control plane components, right? So but whereas in the CKA we will be just focusing on the administration, but here you are modifying the control plane components such as API server, etcd, controller manager, scheduler, etc., right? So and here not only setup but also troubleshoot and tracing or etc., because it's a specialty exam. So definitely with respect to security they will be focused, and also yeah, definitely Linux skills are required. So for CKA I think it's just kubectl, get pod, kubectl is hands-on is enough, but whereas for the CKS we need an additional, right, not a Linux expertise, but you need to know the some of the Linux troubleshooting tracing skills. That's what I feel. Then speed typing is definitely does matter, but also accuracy. So maybe you can say I'm a typing master, I can type very fast, but remember it's accuracy is also important, not only speed typing, because the questions are little bit confusing. We need to read the questions very carefully. Yeah, and YAML is very sensitive. What I feel, YAML is just you change its indentation, it's completely it will fail. Whenever you try to apply, there will be error. So we need to be very careful what is under what, right? Say containers under image, and under that container level security context, pod level security, something like that. So you need to be little bit careful what comes under the what, tab space and all that. This is my view. Then comparing with CKA, what I see in the difference, apart from the explain. One is CKA is all about the kube API resources, setup, install, backup, right? And all these things. So CKA is kubectl API resources, right? Say CKA is basically mostly focuses on these particular topics, like create a daemon set, create a secret, create a pod, create a nodes, create a deployment, create endpoint, config maps, and all these things, cron jobs, and etc, right? But whereas and create a provision a new cluster, upgrade, and all this. But CKS is forces. What is forces? Cloud native security, which is there. So if you look at here, 4C Kubernetes. So if I type this, right, the first link, this is the 4C's of cloud native security. So with respect to security, we are not only dealing the container, but also all the places, 1, 2, 3, 4. So cluster level, data center level, cloud level, cluster level, container level, code level, these are the 4. So and so this exam is focuses on these areas. And security setup, yes, it's a security specialty, so definitely it requires more. If you buy a home, buying a home and upgrading is not simple, but when it comes to the implementing a security to your home, every room need a lock, every room has a cupboards need a lock. In the cupboard there will be a secret cupboard also will need a lock. In the secret cupboard you just can't keep, you will put it under the box. So when it comes to security, not only Kubernetes, anything, it deserves more. So security means lot of stuff, tools and utilities is extra, and we are directly dealing with a control plane, and also Linux skills, as I said, and YAML is sensitive. So this is a difference what I feel, right? If you feel whatever is something is extra, maybe you can just comment, no problem. We are just sharing. Yeah. Now mock exams are really helpful for me. What the mock exams I took? So Code Cloud, which is Mumshad, 3 mock exams. Yeah, those are the environment. Somehow it's not friendly, but it's really useful. But you need to do the 4 to 5 times. One exam is 1 hour, so that is really helpful and make your hand is free, and you will be ready for the exam. And also A Cloud Guru has a 10 mock exams on each and every topics. Not 10, sorry, it's a 12, but you must do 2 times. That's what the. And the third one is a killer shell. When you before the exam, maybe 2-3 days before, you must do the killer simulator sessions. I feel most of the questions are from the killer shell. It's there from Code Cloud and A Cloud Guru, yes, but also I see most of the from killer simulator sessions. So you prepare accordingly as per the killer, so that you can crack easily. But there is a huge chances of failing. Yes. So that's what my experience, what I feel. And also Kata Coda, Killer Coda, and this labs play with the Kubernetes, these are the free. Maybe you can go and provision and do the practice of the whatever the scenarios which is there in this particular here, or whatever the my YouTube videos also you can refer and practice accordingly. Yeah, and also one more is a local vagrant cluster also, which is very helpful, which is something like this. I created for in my Mac. So it's a 2 node. If you want this particular source code of the my vagrant cluster, yeah, it's there in the GitHub. I will provide this link, K8X cluster. This cluster with the not only Kubernetes cluster, but also it will set up ingress controller, Prometheus, and a load test, right? And everything is there. So yeah, maybe you can just refer this, right? What should I do in the first step when the exam? So first step is we need to set up the vimrc, since we will be modifying a lot of YAML files. So it's a one liner. So echo set ts is a tab stop, set width, set tab stop equal to 2 and expand tab. This is just one liner. So just remember this and execute this one, so that whenever you are modifying a YAML file and accidentally you paste, maybe indents are incorrect, this will be very useful. This is the must follow. That's what I strongly recommend. Second is, do not type. Whenever they will tell that create a subpod named allow access, pod name ALLOW-ACCWESS. So there is a wrong of, you may type C 3 times or 1 time, S 1 time or S maybe 2 time. So better just as it is copy and paste whatever they given the name. Say let's say this is the name I have to create a pod, this is the name, this is the name. Just copy this and kubectl, whatever you create, you do that. That's what I recommend. And strongly recommend to refer bookmarks, so which is from the Kubernetes documentation. I used this bookmarks which is in the CKS. These are the bookmarks. So I used, and or else the Chrome browser which will support, say for example image policy webhook. So image policy webhook, I just type here, say let's say decoding a secret. So decode secret value. So I put all the my here. Say let's say I wanted to say audit policy, I'll just type a audit, it will come. Say I wanted to create a cluster role, right? Say role. So using or back it came, so automatically. Or else if I can't find here, and if you just scroll down, it is there here. And or else I just keep the shorter name here, role binding commands CLI or back. Maybe you can just remember like a CLI, something like that. This kind of tips really helpful. If you look at here, image policy webhook, I given a name as a IPW. So what I did is during the exam I type IPW, then immediately this bookmark is came. So that's how you can just utilize the time of searching and scrolling, where is this command, that command, all right. Yeah. And ingress with the TLS, say for example ingress with the TLS will come, then automatically click here, or else if it is few seconds. So this is the way I use my bookmarks, and I will share these bookmarks as well, right. These are all the bookmarks from documentation, but also not only from the documentation, but also there are other external bookmarks which is in the documentation, is in this link is given. One is Kubernetes documentation and GitHub Kubernetes and blog, and as well as a Trivi, Sysdig and Falco and Auparmar. So these all the links are here in my bookmarks. So I kept whatever is useful, I kept here, right. Then next, then next, overall CKS exam point of view, I see the two different categories. Means CKS syllabus is this. Of course my GitHub page I have put and I given, but overall it's a two types. One is a control plane related. Yes, control plane means API server, etcd, kubelet, scheduler, controller, all these things. And second is the general Kubernetes, which is not touching any control plane component. This is what I feel two categories. First, control plane category. First is the CIS benchmarking, pod security policy, image policy webhook, audit policy, Falco or Sysdig, tracing a container syscall, hardening access to kube API server, or troubleshooting a kube API server when it goes down. So in these cases you will be dealing with a control plane, something like a heart operation. In case of these scenarios, you will be dealing with heart, not only the heart operation, just you are dealing. Second is general resources, which is not dealing with the heart. You won't be, it's a simple YAML. Network policy, RBAC, secret, service account, app armor, seccomp, runtime class, service security context and immutable pods, static analysis, Trivi, and ingress with TLS and OPA. So these are the not dealing with the kube API server. You won't be modifying, but it's a standalone setup, something like. But here some of the services require a master node. but not, you won't be modifying anything there. Say example seccomp profile should be copied into the kubelet profile directory, right? But here, even though you are copying but not modifying, right? That's what I kept here. Now first is the CIS benchmarking. CIS benchmarking point of view, as we know, they will give us some scan results and we need to fix based on the remediation. So and yeah, CIS benchmarking point of view, this is what the documentation, right, which I downloaded. As we see that control plane component, so any CIS benchmarking you take, so they will give you the remediation. So and every CIS benchmarking has some number, right, 1.1. so we need to identify the failures, and accordingly whatever the remediation it suggests, that remediation you need to apply. If this is the remediation, just go out there and apply. So that's a good thing. And refer this particular whatever the document I shared, and need not to refer, already in the CIS benchmarking scan result it will have a remediation. So that's what you need to do, right? And the second is a pod security policy. As we know, pod security policy is a simple YAML, and go use a bookmark to go to pod security policy. So here it's my CKS and pod security policy. So they will give you the some criteria, and you need to create accordingly the whatever the documentation has examples. So right, maybe they may ask this one, I want this, right, here. So here basically one general example is given, and there is some examples like a privileged or restricted. So if the examination, you read the question carefully, if they are asking for a privileges to be added, then refer this and just copy paste and modify the YAML and apply finally. So that's what the we need to do, and based on the question you need to prepare this YAML. That's what. And pod security policy, yes, I created this YAML file, but the question is not simply create a pod security policy. That also they may ask any of the step here. So as we know the implementation, first we need to enable the pod security policy in kubeAPI server. How to enable? Under the kubeAPI server, this particular command you will be adding. So you will be modifying the YAML and appending this kubeAPI server. Then second, you will be creating a pod security policy, which is something like this kind of a YAML. Then service account and cluster role binding, and apply to the pod. So they may ask in a one single question to do this. So you need to perform this 5-step process. In some questions maybe ask you just create a PSP and that's it, leave it. Create a PSP with some criteria, and which YAML file and all they will give you in the description, in the question description. So you need not to worry about where to place the PSP. They will give you the skeleton. So this is what the implementation step for the PSP. And image policy webhook. Yes, so image policy webhook point of view, totally 3 components. One is major is admission configuration, which is maybe JSON or maybe YAML file. So refer the bookmarks and image policy webhook. So in the documentation it's given this is the admission configuration, but this may be a JSON file as well. So in the exam maybe YAML or maybe JSON they will give, and that will point to kubeconfig file. That kubeconfig file is a separate, and kubeconfig file will have a cluster, context and user. In the exam they will give you the some server, something, some certificate, or accordingly you need to accommodate and do the save, and make sure these paths are correct, and this path is refers to the exact path, and the certificate locations and all you just need to verify. And here the XYZ folder I place the admission config. So in the exam may be different or maybe some different path, just an example. And its implementation is, as we know, backend service you need not to create, they will give you in the exam. One is create a kubeconfig file, that is there already in the examination, you need not to worry. Only you will be just modifying the admission configuration file and enabling API server, and make sure this API server level the proper setting. This one, enable admission plugins and admission config file, which is there in the documentation as well. If you go to the image policy webhook, and there is a path, this is admission control configuration file. So this admission control configuration file is like the whatever the JSON or YAML file you need to give. And API server level, yes, of course you need to enable that. Fourth one is audit policy, right? And it's a simple audit policy means audit policy is a 4 different types. Go to the documentation, like audit policy, audit, right? So if you look at the audit policy, these are the different types, right? One is a metadata, and other one is a request, other one is a request response, and other one is a none. So the question maybe comes like, I want to create a metadata with some this criteria, I want to request for so and so, and I want to trace for this one. So if they ask all four, you need to create a one single YAML this way as per the documentation and place it in the master node. Where to place and all, that is I have created another video detail, maybe refer that. And the audit policy implementation steps are, you will be creating a audit policy. Yes, it's a YAML, this is a YAML you need to create in the exam, and you need to place this particular audit policy file at the KubeAPI server, right, somewhere, and which is to be placed in the master node. Yes, of course, audit policy should be located in API server is always there in the master node. And the logs as well, not only creating audit policy file but also log file which path. And sometimes this particular path which they gave, that path may not be exist, you may need to create that folder. If it is there, then good, that you need to check. And mounting, this mounting is not required in the examination, I see it's there already, but you may ask to mount as well, so it's a different. But overall the steps are these 4 steps. And monitoring, so once you did the 4 steps, and don't forget to verify the logs which is you configured this particular path. So here basically this is the one, what is audit policy file location and what is the audit log path. Here equal to is missing, but this is the path and age and all. So then immediately when the audit policy question comes, then immediately open this bookmark and then just try to, if they ask max backup is so many days and maximum size is this size, then just you need to put it that, right? Yeah. And Falco rules, basically for me also, yes, it's there, the question. So Falco point of view, there is a default rule and local rule. Default rule has a number of rule, and you may need to maybe modify the existing Falco rule. So don't modify this in this particular location, but where rather you need to override. So how to find the Falco rule? Then there is a command basically where you need to cat this particular file and search for the, in the question they may ask like a shell was spanned and this is the output, and you need to modify the output. So they give you the some text, so you need to search in this particular, and then that's what you need to do. And also priority also important otherwise you may yeah. And the most important is sometimes they may ask you to enable and Falco implementation is, these are the steps. Installing, you need not to install anything, it's there. And Falco, yes, you need to create a Falco rule in the examination with, take a existing Falco rule and override it in the local.yaml. That's what the and then once you update the local file, then you need to update the Falco configuration as well in case of any changes they ask, right? Say output I want a JSON, or maybe I want some file output log path is something different. And don't forget to restart the Falco once you done the changes. Then tracing a container, also one of the question I have seen. So for tracing the container we need CRICTL. We will have another video. So this particular is there already in the Kubernetes documentation as well. If you don't know CRICTL, so that is there. Yeah, CRICTL here is there. So there is some commands are given, and how do you inspect the pods, how do you inspect the pods and logs and all, which is means basically our intention to inspect trace the container. kubectl logs sometimes they won't give you, so you may need to basically do the CRICTL to inspect and do the logs and all. So in this way you will be able to identify what's happening inside the container, right? Sometimes you may need to use the strace to do the some identification of the trace of the particular system call, right? By using a ps command. Then yeah, it's securing Kubernetes API. This is also one of the question I have seen. So API server security point of view, they may ask anything from these parameters, either TLS certificate file mapping, or maybe they may give a some API server is down and you need to secure it, or maybe insecure API server you need to secure it. In the one question everything, right? Maybe they wanted to disable anonymous, or maybe delete some cluster role or cluster role binding which is having anonymous, something like that. Question will be definitely not a straightforward like delete cluster role, not like this. They will give you the scenario and they will ask you to achieve so and so security aspect. So with respect to security aspect, we need to ask question. This is I received a question, hence I included this point, but I have not attempted completely 100%, but I did this, but I am not sure whether I corrected or I correctly did or not. Yeah. So another most important is sometimes API server is goes down, or maybe it won't boot up, or maybe by when you modifying API server there will be some problems. So you need to basically troubleshoot. So troubleshooting point of view, US you can troubleshoot. You can go to this particular folder in the master node, and there will be kube system -kube API server control pen some number. Under that kube API there will be a log file. If you tail that, you will see what is the problem with the kube API server. Say you accidentally, instead of rback you type rback2, or pod security policy spelling is correct, let's say, then that will be there in this particular log file. So if it is goes down, then don't be panic and just go to this directory and try to troubleshoot. So instead of that, better to make sure while copying or while typing, just make sure indentation, comma, full stop, or any accidental to those to be taken care. Yes. Now these all the basically. Now let's look at the general network policy. All this, right? First one is network policy. Yes, this is the network policy. They may give. I have seen 2 questions on the network policy. 2 questions. If you ask me whether if I wanted to just pass, this is enough. No, this is not enough to pass. You need to attempt the API server related as well. That's how the exam is designed. That's what I noticed. But maybe if you guys, once you pass, maybe let me know your feedback. But yeah, but here seccomp I have not seen the question. Right, network policy, they may give us some ingress or egress, or some from condition, or from namespace, from port, and you create in the some network policy in the different namespace, and they ask you to allow pods or namespaces from the different namespace. So and just make sure you need to create this particular network policy by ultimately again you will be referring to the bookmarks, or maybe just type network policy here. So I lazy to type network policy, and then once it is open, then scroll down, and then this is the what the network policy full-fledged exam. That's what I just kept in the my bookmarks, so that it will directly take you here. And so right, so this is the what you need to do if it is incoming or out. Sometimes question is not straightforward. Just read the question straightforward, to whom you wanted to allow or block. So that's what you need to read carefully. Sometimes there is a chances of misunderstanding. Allowing means whom to allow, right? So those conditions just read carefully and accordingly apply based on this. And the most important network policy point of view, if these dashes are there, right, means or condition. If you remove these dashes, it's an and condition. That's a takeaway. So here all or condition means it's like this one or this one or this one, something like that it will work. And this is and condition again, right? Second is or back. So role based access control. So we know role binding, cluster role binding, right? So role you may need to create, role binding you may need to create, cluster role you may need to create, and cluster role binding you may need to create. But better to use imperative command, which is very easy. So if you don't know how to create imperative commands, kubectl create role and just do the -h. So basically these are the, and kubectl create role, so just you copy and modify. This is the way you can get. Or else if you don't know the how to create a cluster role, say, right, or you forgot during the exam, so just do the kubectl cluster role -h, and then you will have a proper tips are here. So just you can just directly refer here, say I wanted to create a kubectl create a cluster role named access restriction, something like that, and -, right, -verb equal to, right, I say get list create -resource on the what resources, or say deployments, something like that. This is a plural, yeah, that's what you need to. So this kind of things you can achieve by using imperative rather than the YAML, but still and service accounts as well. So service account is a very easy. kubectl create service account and say dev service account in a dev namespace, just do the like that. Third one, or rollback command. These are the imperative commands, of course it's there, and if you wanted to test by using this command you can test. And if you don't know the how to command and you forgot the syntax, just simply kubectl auth can I, kubectl auth can -i and -h, you do that, it will tell you the how to test this. Just simply during the exam if they ask you to test something, then you can just directly test, right? So this is the one of the tip I can take away. So no need to remember or no need to note down all these steps. So you can just say you don't know how to create a namespace, right? Just simply you kubectl create a namespace -h, simply it will tell you kubectl dn, and if you wanted to pass anything, just do it here. Yeah, that's what the and the third one is a secret, right? So secret as an environment variable. So in the exam they may ask you to create a secret or set it as an environment variable, or and create a secret, set it in a one pod as an environment variable, one pod as a volume mount, something like this they may ask. So and also question may also have a create a secret with some xyz password, or and decode it, and decoded password you store it somewhere, something like that. So and the decoding secret also there is in the, it's there in the documentation, right? Say here, say let's say decode, I put the decode so that in the examination it will be easy for me. Sorry. So this is the way the decoding a secret, or just you can search as well. So all these bookmarks I created from this documentation. Decoding a secret, automatically it will come, but just too handy I just kept as a decoding a secret, decoding a secret, yeah, something like that. Then yeah, and this is a decode base 64. Then service account auto mount. So basically you may need to create a service account and auto mount to some pod, or maybe you may need to create a pod, such kind of a scenario. So here it looks very simple, but you need to create a 1 2 3 and do some other. The question is not straightforward. AppArmor, as we know, AppArmor implementation point of view, install AppArmor profile and load the AppArmor profile and apply to pod, right, and verify. But basically AppArmor profile to be copied into the nodes as well. So but you no need to copy, it's there already in the examination, but if it is not there you need to copy. Profile also will be given, you just need to apply. It's easy, right? This is something like this AppArmor profile looks, and AppArmor underscore status and whatever the path AA-status. And so, and remember AA-status give you the file name, profile name, not file name. And whenever you are applying to the pod, this is the, you need to give a file name, profile name, not a file name. File may be XYZ, but this name you need to be handy, and the container name here. So multiple things you need to keep in your mind whenever you are applying to the pod. And the seccom. seccomp is also is a kind of a profile. I haven't received, but a seccomp profile to be copied in the kubelet directory and then apply to the pod, and which is there in the documentation as well. So seccomp. So sometimes I referred the basically. So in the exam I fear of typing, so I just simply I just go there and click here seccomp profile, right? And seccomp implementation point of view, right? So you need to create a profile. So in the examination I haven't received, so I cannot comment on, but they may give a profile. You may need to copy to the multiple nodes seccomp profiles and then apply to the pod. That's what they may ask, and you need to verify. Once you apply, you did everything and then it's not applied to pod, then you may lose the. And runtime class, so they ask you to create some runtime class with a kata, runc or anything else what they mention in the, then accordingly you need to apply to the pod. So this pod also you need to create. Sometime they will give you the pod or running pod, you need to export it as a pod and then delete that pod and then apply something like that. There will be a question, but be ready for any kind of scenario. This is all practice is important. Yeah. Then runtime class, how you implement, install a gvisor kata. In the exam no need to install. Then create a runtime class. Yes, this is what you need to do in the exam, and apply to the pod and then verify. This is what the whole steps. But installations are not only here, any topic not required, they already pre-installed. So you just need to take care of these 3 steps only, right? Now another is a security context at the pod level. So this is a somewhat easy topic. So by looking at the YAML file itself, you can basically guess what's happening with the, is it coming with a root user? No. Is it allow privilege escalation? No. And something like that. Is this having any Linux capability? Yes, one is the having. Something like that, you need to identify what are the capabilities and all, right? SE seccomp or SE Linux, etc. Then second is immutable pods. They may ask you the find out the immutability, find and delete the immutable pod from the given pods, maybe 4 or 5. Then but general logic is here, if you wanted to make a immutable pod, then privilege should not be, run as a user must not be 0, right? And all these things, and run read only root file system equal to true. So these are the points to be added, right? Here read only root file system. So check for these particular options in the YAML file and accordingly you take action. But overall refer these guys. And the static analysis, they may give a one YAML file and one Docker file, multiple, one or multiple. Then you need to identify based on the any capability. They will give you the condition as well. Do not modify anything, and they will give you the certain criteria. What based on what you need to identify. Whether root user you don't want, they will tell you. So accordingly, but just focus on the static analysis point of view. What are the best practices, and accordingly you do it. Then tree scan. So there will be a list of a given pods. You need to scan the pods and put the results into somewhere, or delete the pods. Delete the pod those having a vulnerabilities or less. So here basically tree image -s means severity, high comma critical. They may ask anything, only high or only critical or both. If it is both, specify comma and whatever the image name and grep for a total. But this is not a straightforward. They will give you the some parts, and out of parts you need to identify the images. So in that case you just go to the cheat sheet, right? kubectl cheat sheet, and there is a command which is, scroll down, which will tell you the what is a pod and what is a image. So this is the what the command you need to kubectl get pod in a say xyz namespace. Just put this command, it will tell you the pod name and as well as its image name. Then apply this tree command one by one. right? So this Python, so something like this you need to do. It will just do it in a one liner. And how the output, this one. And in the question maybe they will tell that delete the those pods having a critical or not 0, something like that. Here critical 4 means I have to delete, or something like that. There is some based on some criteria you need to delete, right? So this is what you need to do in the one liner tree scan. And yeah, that's it for this particular long session. Thank you for listening. And one thing is remaining is, question is not a straightforward any question. It has a multiple scenarios. So just imagine total 16 questions, 16 different scenarios. One scenario has a multiple actions, right? So only thing is it's not a super rocket science or anything, but practice, practice, practice. So yeah, with the practice we can achieve. That's what the whatever purely I feel. Before ending this video, I would like to share. So go to my GitHub page, CKS preparation guide. Under that I kept important notes for CKS exam. I mentioned the CKS categories and what are the tips, like one liner vimrc and this common export and other API troubleshooting and all these commands here. So, and the most important is the bookmarks I kept here. You can download from here the same bookmarks which I exported. Yeah, and it's doable exam. Overall final note, practice, practice, practice. Thank you, and thank you for watching. Let me know your feedback in the comments. Thank you. Bye bye.